Ever since my brothers and sisters have stepped foot on this land, you've been degrading us. You degrade us still. You literally stretched us so thin we spread throughout the entire map. You made us build your farms, work your farms, raise your children. Meanwhile, you were desecrating my queen. You left them to weep themselves to sleep in barns. When my fellow brothers showed any sign of intelligence or competency that matched or surpassed your level of knowledge, you whipped us. You had to physically hurt us. Emotionally and intellectually, we are too much. A dichotomy I see a lot of is that of the rich white man and the rich black man. Don't you see we stunt differently? We act differently? The white rich man prefers, of course, depending on the individual, his New Balance sneakers and his white t-shirt, while the rich black man, once again, depending on the individual, prefers or doesn't mind wearing jewelry. Do you know why that is? That is because when white men departed their filthy London, they entered Egypt. They were surrounded by mounds of jewels and gold, more opulence than they've seen in their entire existence. You see, royal blood pumps through these veins. So when you go to Ben Baller for that diamond chain, don't be ashamed. It's who you are. Now, don't get me wrong. Slavery was occurring all over the world. But you, like Malcolm X used to say, white devils became a motherfucker. You see, back when slaves were being used in Egypt, they weren't being used because they should hate the color of their skin or how their hair is textured or how plump their lips are. They were simply being used because, let's face it, if you don't have to pay for labor, you keep all of the profit and benefit. At the time, a better governing ideology hadn't been thought of. Do you know how different the world would be if we evolved without hatred? Without hatred from whites. If whites hadn't started pointing out differences and calling them flaws. If whites hadn't started creating fake scientific reasoning that we were suffering. If whites hadn't created a racial distinction or perceived themselves to be morally superior, blacks would have never started looking at each other as the other. We also would not be in our current state of affairs. Back when slaves were being used in Egypt, it was due to social hierarchy. White men made it about something more sinister. It was about spreading hate. For that, I say, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. So now we're back to being in good old America again. Slavery ended on paper, but not in practice. You literally spent the last couple of 100 years, scratch that. Black people spent the last couple of 100 years. Literally, say it as many times as you want with me. Literally building infrastructure. Literally building commerce. Literally building towns. Literally building cities. Literally building America. We are the ones that made America great. Don't you ever forget. We built this shit. Shout out to the Native Americans and the Asians that were slaves before Africans. But that still wasn't enough. It irks you, doesn't it? Sitting next to a black family. It irks you that your daughter is looking at a black man. Ironic because your great-great-grandfather did not have an issue with raping my great-great-grandmother. Interracial couples equals companion code for you, while it equals to Jim Crow for us. You can't put us in a field to work without pay, so police brutality is rampant. Not a surprise considering that the original purpose of the law enforcement system was to stop slaves from escaping. The same individuals employed in that service became police officers. The same vigilante houses that kept slaves for their masters became police precincts. Law enforcement was never about doing what was right. Protecting, sir? Bullshit. It's been about protecting their employers' policies. If that sounds like the current incarceration environment, do not be surprised. History repeats itself, right? That doesn't change. What should change is how we react to it if we have the privilege of history to guide us. Jim Crow came and went, and so did a lot of bodies. Oh, I forgot, there's more. Jim Crow is outlawed, but being an equal is still not in your agenda. Right when my people are doing the right thing, they're breaking barriers, they're being educated to get out of the hole that you made us dig for ourselves with a revolver and a whip in one hand, you introduced the third, of which I'm sure are maniacs. Mass incarceration. During this entire time, the assault on our skin color, intellect, appearance, and character has not once seen the light of day. It continues to work. The assault toils on, and you keep its course and keep the heat on. You demonize my brothers, uncles, fathers, grandfathers, and cousins. Reagan drops tracks in the hood, but Reagan wants to be the villain and the hero. Don't forget he was an actor. So he locks my people in federally mandated chains again. Slavery. Then you continue to incarcerate at an alarming rate. Why does a white man have a 1 in 17 chance to be in prison over a black man's 1 in 3 over the same crime? Shit, the real crime has been being black. You can check history for that. Blacks are taking up space, right? Might as well make some money out of them, right? You piece of shit. You profiting off the backs of my brothers. Yeah, you. The ones profiting off the mass incarceration system are the new school slave masters. But even when jails are overcrowded with humans in conditions you wouldn't place your dog to live in, it's still not enough. You have to block us every time we round the corner or jump the hurdle. How do you do this? Cutting resources. You cut the resources to my local school. You cut the resources to extracurriculars, music and art, etc. But when that's not enough, judge us from the boardrooms at colleges. You hold us back from the inalienable right to knowledge, and that's still not enough because even though your daughter went to Harvard, she still came back home with Obama. So you see, we can't stop, won't stop. So you turn to what you're used to. Law enforcement, aka slave enforcement. You kill my Amadou Diallo, my Patrick Dorsman, my Jermaine Zongo, my Timothy Stansberry, my Sean Bell, my Oscar Grant, my Taman Robinson, my Rakia Boyd, my Kamani Gray, my Ayanna Stanley Jones, my Marley Graham, my Freddie Gray, my Walter Scott, my Michael Brown, my Kai Gurley, my Eric Garner, my Tamir Rice, who was only 12 years old, my Philando Castile, who was carrying a legal firearm, and even after multiple attempts to warn you that he had it, you still killed him. Fuck you, America. You brought us here. That's the only reason why we're still here. That's the whole.
During Malcolm's time, I would have been suited, ready to shoot it. Staying by his side, I bet you assassins couldn't cue it. The shotty out the moment they approach you. How you tryna kill my brother and blatantly holding? One through the hole, somebody just hit the door. 2 shots in me as your body just hit the floor. Then I kneel behind a podium with